Hi, I'm Fern Tablin. I'm the director of the VSTP program, the Veterinary Scientist Training Program. And we're going to spend the next 40 minutes, 45 minutes, talking about what the program is. And then I'd like to engage you in a conversation about who you are, why you're interested in science, where you see yourselves in the future. And I hope that the information I provide you will help you be able to inform that dialogue, okay? So what's the goal of VSTP? VSTP wants to train very well-prepared scientists. So these are DVM PhDs who are going to help meet the evolving social, scientific, ethical, political, humanitarian challenges that are currently facing animal and public health care. And if you think about Ebola, this is a place where veterinarians from UC Davis, trained at UC Davis, have made an enormous impact. And I'll tell you some of their stories. They are both VSTP. One's current VSTP student and one's a VSTP graduate. So really, these people who come through this program not only work in animal health and basic biomedical research, but they also work and do some very, very important work in public health. You really need a doctorate to be able to do this work. It used to be, when science was small and there wasn't a vast amount of information, that you could do a fellowship if you were an MD, or you could do a research project post-DVM, and that would give you an entree into the research world. But it's not true anymore. The amount of scientific knowledge is vast, and really, in order for you to be well prepared, it really requires that you undertake a doctorate. So why should you undertake 8 years of study? Maybe longer, right? You just finished 4 years of undergraduate, and now you're going to sign up for 8 more years of school. So really what this program provides you is an incredibly broad and in-depth scientific background that will allow you to integrate medicine and science. And that medicine can be veterinary medicine, it can be human medicine, and the science that you do can be translational science, so animal models of human diseases, or basic biomedical research, or research specifically within some veterinary species. This degree will set you up to be able to postdoc virtually anywhere in the United States or in Europe. It's an amazing entree into the world of research. And the thing that it does probably the best is it's going to give you critical thinking skills. And science is all about solving problems. And veterinary medicine is also all about solving problems. And when you merge the two of those, it becomes an amazing strength, because you take what you know in one area and you can integrate it into the other area. And so you will not only improve veterinary medicine, but you can improve basic biomedical science. So it's really a gift. It's a lot of work, but there's a lot of big benefits for you in the long run. If you see yourself going out into clinical practice, we're the wrong folks, right? We are trying to grow basic biomedical scientists for academia and for government. So what are the career paths of the people in this program? The program, as I said, is really designed to grow academic faculty for veterinary schools, for medical schools, for undergraduate institutions. They're all over. And also for government, because the kinds of work that people do in this program position them uniquely in public health, in homeland security, and along with the USDA. Our graduates currently are faculty at Davis, faculty at Cornell, and faculty at Florida State. And we have graduates who have postdoced at Harvard, who have postdoced at the NIH, who have postdoced at Oregon State University, who've postdoced at the University of Pennsylvania. So They're really diverse. You can really go anywhere with this degree, or degrees plural. And some of our graduates are actually not necessarily faculty, but they work in research labs. They're happier in the lab than they are maybe without teaching in an academic position. Because when you think about academia, there's actually 3 parts. So if you look at my job, I have 3 things I have to do well. I have to teach, I have to do research, and I have to do service. And service involves committee work and that sorts of things. If you really love research and you might not love teaching quite so much, working and running a research laboratory without an academic component might work for you very well. So different strokes for different folks. We have one of our graduates is the senior associate veterinarian at the Georgia Aquarium. What a cool job, right? But her degree is in basic biomedical science. And I'll tell you a little bit about her. And we have graduates who are in industry. We have a senior scientist who's at Pfizer, and one of our graduates just spent 5 years working for Roche Biomedicals in Germany, and she's just come back to the United States to pursue a residency in pathology. We have folks who work in the government. One of our graduates finished and did an internship in food animal medicine. She had studied a bacteria that caused abortions in cattle, and she really developed a strong interest in livestock health. And she went and did her internship, and at the end of it, decided that she really wanted to go back to the research side of things. And so she now works for the NIH and for Homeland Security and USDA. And what she's working on is preventing the entrance of foot and mouth disease into the United States, developing detection systems, working and looking at where these diseases currently are, what paths might they get here, because this is a very serious disease. It's a vesicular disease, a virus that affects cattle and horses, and we have no therapy for it. Those animals are euthanized. So it's a big disease, and you can imagine that when you think about Homeland Security, that making sure that we maintain security of our animals is as equally important as making sure that we have security for people. And then we have a number of folks who are currently either doing their degrees with or have finished their degrees and work for the CDC. And I want to spend a few minutes talking to you about those people because right now they are my heroes. Can I turn the lights down here? Maybe, maybe not. So these are Kim Dodd and Brian Bird. And Kim is on the right is a VSTP student, and Brian is a graduate of the VSTP program. He runs the Special Pathogens Disease Center at CDC, and he and Kim are serving in Sierra Leone, working on the Ebola outbreak. And they are really unique. And what Brian's holding, which is pretty difficult to see, is a puppy that they've adopted and vaccinated for rabies. So why would 2 people with veterinary degrees and PhDs go to Sierra Leone? When the call came, and when Ebola first came to the forefront of the news, Kim was one of the first people to say, I need to go. I have the expertise to help these people. I can do this. And she right away got in touch with Brian. And said, if the CDC wishes to send me, I wish to go. So she's been there 6 weeks. She set up and single-handedly ran the only PCR diagnostic lab in Sierra Leone for Ebola. And not only has she run it, but she has spent time talking with people and encouraging people who are convalescing And these children have recently recovered from Ebola. This is heroes' work. And these are veterinarians at the forefront of public health. So if I encourage you to do anything with this degree, be like them. They are fantastic. They have stepped up to the opportunities, and they're making an impact in the world. Other ways to make impacts in the world are through basic scientific discovery. This is a slide that I borrowed from Dr. Isaac Pessa. He actually has it up on the research website. And it's of hippocampal neurons in the brain. And there is much research to be done, looking at health, looking at development of the nervous system, understanding how toxicants in our everyday environment affect animals and affect people, and thinking about how we can use animal models of disease for improvement not only of those animals but also of human health. And so if your love might not be public health and big viruses, think about basic bench research. Think about how you would feel if you spent the day looking at such beautiful images under a microscope, because in this case, science is art. And that's one of the most fun things about it. So there are really unique opportunities when you consider the kinds of studies that you can do. So why is this program different than a traditional veterinary degree? 4 years of vet school, you graduate from veterinary school, you have the education, the skills necessary to pass the national and California veterinary boards and to practice veterinary medicine surgery, right? If you love practice, by all means, that is a great path. If you love research, we are another path. You can do research when you are in the traditional DVM program. We offer opportunities for students through the STAR program in the summers between their first and second year and their second and third year. And we have had students do great research projects that have actually changed their careers, that have sent them moving from a clinical focus to a far more research focus. So there's research that's available to you if you don't get into the VSTP program. The VSTP program is 8 years. You have to like school. If you do not like school, we are the wrong place for you. You get an education in veterinary medicine and an education in basic biomedical science in the graduate group of your choice, and we'll talk about how that is. And really, this degree, these 2 degrees, this DVM PhD, are going to position you for jobs in academia and government and even in industry, right? Our focus is research. There's a million ways you can do research, but it is research and not clinics. And you have to love problem solving. Research is about thinking about a problem and trying to think of a new way to answer the question, or coming up with a question no one's ever asked. But there's one real key to research: the ability to deal with delayed gratification. If you are a person that needs instant results, research is not for you. Because you may very well start an experiment on a Monday and not get your answer until the following Wednesday. And you have to go through a lot of hoops to get there, right? So understanding that you are happy with and you can tolerate delayed gratification is a really important component. If you really don't like delayed gratification, surgery is your thing. It is awesome to fix it, right? And surgeons are amazing in and of themselves, but very, very different. So research is really being able to slog through and do the hard work and have the patience for the end results. So who are our applicants and what are they all about? They're at the top of the DVM pools, DVM applicant pool. High GREs, high GPAs. Many of them have significant research experience. A number of students who have come into the program were already co-authors on publications. One of them actually was a co-author on 5 publications and first author on 2 of those 5 as an undergrad, which is pretty astounding. Some students were never co-authors until they came to vet school, but they'd been in labs and they had some idea as a result of being in those laboratories of things they liked to study and things they didn't like to study. And that piece is really important. So if you think this is your career path, I would really encourage you to go and spend time in labs. If you spend a year in a laboratory and you're convinced that for the right reasons, that being you don't enjoy this type of research, this area is not for you, spend the next year working in a different kind of laboratory. But be sure you can differentiate the lab, as in the type of research is being done, from I don't like the people. I'm not comfortable with the people. There's 2 components to it, right? There's the research itself, and then there's, do I fit with this group of folks? And so part of what you'll realize is when you find a lab that fits for you, you will enjoy the people and you will enjoy the work. And that's something just to bear in mind, to keep your head wrapped around that, because that will give you a very good sense of what to do, okay? So what do you need to be able to get your application into VSTP? You need to do your homework. Check out the website. If you have any questions that we don't answer, and there's a lot of parts to that website, contact the director. That's me right now, and my information is on that website, but it might not be me 6 months from now. Talk to them. You can send them an email. You can call them. As you call them, please identify yourself and say, I am Jill Jones, and I am interested in VSTP, and if you have a few minutes, could I ask you some questions? I know sometimes it's unnerving, and people sort of lose their focus and their train of thought, but it will help us to know a little about you and to give us some information about who you are and what your goals are. We are happy to meet with you in person. I have students coming all the time. We are happy to talk to you on the phone. We are happy to talk to you by email. I've even Skyped somebody twice because they were in Europe. So we really want to work with you to get you to understand the program, for us to understand your needs as you look at the program, and to see if everything's a fit. Those are all the things that are really required. You then need to decide on a graduate group, and I'll explain the graduate group complex and how it works on the Davis campus. And potential research labs, saying, oh, that is so cool. Like, I love those pictures of those hippocampal neurons. I'm really interested in the brain, and I'm interested in how toxins might affect brain development. Great, that's one possibility for me. It might be that you're interested in my favorite cell type, which are platelets, and you're interested in how platelets play a role in stroke, how platelets play a role in disease in animals, in sepsis, in cats with heart disease. So you look around, and you'll find any number of people. There are literally several hundred faculty whose work might interest you. So you take the time to really go and find that. You do not need to identify a mentor. As a matter of fact, we'd almost prefer you didn't identify a mentor. That allows us to be able to give you some advice about potential mentors and laboratories. And we do that through the VSTP Advisory Committee. We have 4 members who are faculty, senior faculty in the vet school who advise me, but who also are part of the interview process and advise VSTP students. You first have to submit your VMCAS application. And then, and only then, will you get access to the VSTP portal. And you'll get an email that says, okay, you're ready to go in. We ask for 2 extra letters that really address research and your research potential. Because many of your letters that are going to the DVM application speak to your ability as a veterinarian, or possible ability as a veterinarian, right? So this is a little different. We want to know, how'd you do in the lab? Did you have good interpersonal skills? Did you show up? Did you put the commitment and the time in? How good were your hands in the lab? So all of those things are important to us. And then you're going to submit your graduate group application separately from the VSTP application. Traditionally, the graduate group applications don't open until January. So what you will do on your VSTP application is indicate, I plan to apply to X graduate group. And that's how you set that up. And you are not bound to that graduate group. If you change your mind, it behooves you to talk to the director of the VSTP program. But if you get here and you start in a graduate group and you go to that graduate group and you learn more about it and you think, oh, I think I might have made a bad decision, there are options. You can change graduate groups. Okay? So how do the graduate groups work on this campus? Graduate education is done in graduate groups which go across schools and colleges. So for instance, in the pharmacology toxicology graduate group, there are members in the School of Veterinary Medicine. There are members in the School of Medicine. There are members in engineering. There are members in the College of Biological Sciences. And there are members in the School of Ag. Probably all told, we have 100 faculty members in that particular graduate group. And they have a great website, and you'll learn all about those people. Okay? You need to recognize that each graduate group, because it is an individual focus and a different research focus, is going to have its own curriculum. Look at the courses. If you look at them and you say, oh my God, do I really need to understand this? And you think, I'm not sure how that's going to apply to my long-term goals, look at other graduate groups. Look around. And the VSTP students have been in a lot of different graduate groups. They've been in the animal behavior graduate group, in the informatics and genetics graduate group, in the graduate group in immunology, in integrative pathology, which used to be called comparative pathology, in pharmacology toxicology, molecular, cellular, and integrative physiology, and molecular cell biology and cell and developmental biology. So they're spread across. And there are other possibilities, but we hope that you stay in the realm of basic biomedical science. Okay? The program is long. It's not so much by design, but it is by nature of research. So the traditional DVM program is 4 years. And at the end of that program, if you come out and if you find that research really is your thing, there will be research opportunities available for you. There are training grants, post-DVM training grants. So if VSTP turns out not to work for you, there are other ways to get doctoral training, and you shouldn't ignore them. The first 2 years are largely preclinical. The third year is really on clinically related material, and the fourth year is in the clinics. Now, what VSTP does is that we work with you to optimize your time out. The general way it's happened is that students do the first 2 years of the vet school program, and then they come out. And they come out for usually 4, occasionally 5, sometimes only 3 years. And that's the time frame that they have to do their doctorate. That includes taking the coursework from the required graduate group coursework, passing your oral exam, which is part of a doctorate, and doing the research. Now, some of the graduate programs, like computer engineering, their normative time to finish is 7 or 8 years. And that doesn't work necessarily easily with our idea that this should be 8 years, because otherwise that now puts you to 12 years of education at the graduate level. Normative time to get through our program, DVM and PhD, 8 years. Might be 8.5 years, but it is relatively constrained. But that also really emphasizes the fact that you have to be focused about what you want to do. It's very difficult to come into this program and not have a clue of what you want to study. If you just think research is fun, take the time between your first and second years to explore it, and you can still apply to VSTP when you are in vet school between the first and second year. Those are opportunities that are still available for you. So what about funding? The School of Veterinary Medicine actually provides financial and academic support to VSTP students. It's contingent upon you are maintaining your good standing in the program and a yearly meeting with the director and the advisory committee. We provide you a stipend and we cover tuition and fees. We do that for the 4 years you are in veterinary school. During the time you are in graduate school, it's incumbent on the graduate group and your mentor, and you to a degree, to be able to be supported. That support sometimes involves small research grants. It involves mentors' contributions. It involves being on a training grant, university fellowships, all sorts of issues. And in addition, the mentors may choose to supplement what you already have. So sometimes you'll get a fellowship, and on top of that, the mentor will actually contribute more. It depends on the lab. If the choice is, to give you that fellowship and then use that extra money perhaps to support your lab research, that might be another way that a mentor might choose to do that, right? So the program is all about research, and I think that the students that have gone through it have been very successful. They've really enjoyed it. Of the people that have been through it, it started in 2000. We're up at 2014. We've literally had 2 people drop out of the program total. And one of them had a commute issue, and the other didn't feel it was a fit. But we have had great folks who study interesting things, all the way from elephant seals to viruses and bacteria. So, any questions? Yeah.
It's more on undergraduate coursework. How does a senior year graduate course look to the community that accepts your application?
I think they're happy with that. They really want to know, do you have research aptitude? Because when you go into a lab, if you've had no research experience, those mentors are asking themselves, wait, does the student really understand what they're getting into? So if anything, I would encourage you to have broad research experience, solid research experience when you apply to this program, because it will make a difference to the mentors. Because otherwise, it is a little bit of a crapshoot, right? They're looking and they're thinking, well, who are you? How do I know that? The academics are important, but having the research time in the lab is very, very important. You might find enough time to do both. It depends on the lab. Lab might encourage you to do both. What are you guys interested in? Say it again?
Wildlife conservation.
Wildlife conservation. That's a tough one. Finding funding for that is not easy. Anybody else?
Animal behavior.
What kind of animal behavior?
Just in the wild, mostly.
Wild, so.
Wildlife animal behavior more, like interactions with, like how interactions with people were introduced to certain areas and how it affected wildlife animals.
Oh, that's an important area as well. Anybody else?
Research, mainly biomedical.
What do you think is interesting?
More like the biochemistry, so targeting certain proteins and inhibitors, defining certain drugs.
Drug design, pharmacology, toxicology would be your piece. Anybody else want to volunteer? Yeah.
Feline studies.
So are we talking more clinically related research? So you might be a candidate for doing a post-DVM PhD. If your interest is clinical work, then that largely will put you in the post-DVM realm. And that said, there are residencies that have doctoral programs actually set up with them, and Ohio State and Purdue happen to be 2 of the schools that do that.
Does that mean you will still get your PhD though going through those programs?
Yes, it does. It means that you finish your residency and you move straight into a PhD program. Not all schools have that. For instance, we don't do that here, but those schools are, and there are several others that do the same. Might also put you into a master's program, depends on the school. But there are definitely opportunities for clinically related research then.
You said one of those schools was Purdue?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The 2 letters of recommendation from researchers that you mentioned, are those in addition to what you must submit through the VMCAS?
We'd love, if the letters that you submit to VMCAS are from practicing veterinarians, we would really, really appreciate having letters from researchers who can speak to who you are and how you deal with the research environment. It will help us a lot.
So these two letters, are they submitted separately from the VMCAS?
They are. They're submitted into the VSTP portal.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
If we're interested in, like if we've looked up and seen some of the graduate professors and like some of the research, what they're doing in research, and we're interested in just like shadowing them, do you just recommend emailing them and like telling them, do they accept undergraduates to just like help with research and things like that?
Almost everybody is very happy to have undergraduates help with research. So you could email them and say, I'm an undergraduate, I'm at this far along, I have these goals, and I was wondering if you took undergraduates into the lab. A lot of times they'll come back and they might say you need to have taken the following courses. So for biochemistry, when students come into my lab, my question is, have you done basic biochemistry lab? Because I want to know you could run a gel or a Western blot. But depending on what they want, it's simple. You email them and you just say, I'm going to apply to vet school, but I'm really interested in the interface between humans and animals in the wild. I've looked at your work. You know, the thing you want to do when you write a letter to any of us and you're discussing your desire to work in someone's lab is that you need to know what they do and how your interests dovetail with their interests so that you don't send them a generic letter, because that will hit the delete button.
Also, when you're saying 2 letters of recommendation and you want like, you said they want to see you've done research in different types of labs.
Well, it doesn't have to be in different labs. If you like the lab you're in, you could stay there. I don't need you to send you around.
So if we like really like the lab we're working in, we can just stay in.
Yeah. But I mean, it's important to know if you spend a year in a laboratory and it's not the place you want to be, whether it's all of a sudden you say, you know, that's interesting, but I'm more interested in this other topic, and you go and spend time in that laboratory, that'll be useful for you because you'll learn new techniques and you'll think about things differently. But if you're in a lab and you like it and you do well in that laboratory and they like you, that's great. Anybody else? So please, if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me. My contact information is on the website. So if you email me, please say, hey, I heard your presentation. If you call me, please say, I was at the pre-health meeting and I heard you speak, and these are my questions. Feel free, please, to ask. And I think that wraps it up. Okay?